I was standing around the corner, about to join my friends for our annual summer trip planning session, when I heard Jessica's voice cut through the air like a knife. "She's not needed this summer," she said, followed by Megan's laugh. God, she always ruins the vibe with her organization and planning. It's exhausting. I froze, my hand still raised to knock on the doorframe of Mike's apartment where we always met. These were my friends, my 5 best friends since college. 10 years of friendship, and this is what they really thought? Yeah, but we still need her beach house, Mike added. 16 grand for a week in Malibu? We can't afford that without her. We'll figure something out, Jessica said. She'll still pay for it. She always does. I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. These people, the ones I'd spent holidays with, the ones whose shoulders I'd cried on, the ones I thought were my family, they were just using me. I took a deep breath and composed myself. Instead of confronting them, I walked in with a smile, pretending I hadn't heard a thing. Hey guys, I said cheerfully, watching as their faces changed. Jessica's eyes widened just slightly. Mike suddenly became very interested in his beer, and the others shifted uncomfortably. Sorry I'm late. Traffic was awful. No problem. Jessica recovered quickly. We were just, talking about the trip. Great, I said, taking a seat. I wanted to confirm the dates for the Malibu house. I need to transfer the $16,000 deposit this week to secure it. The room went silent for a beat. Then Jessica smiled too brightly. That sounds perfect. We're all so excited. Yeah, I nodded, pulling out my planner. And everyone's good to split the other expenses, right? Food, activities, that kind of thing? They all nodded, avoiding eye contact. I flipped through my planner, letting the silence stretch uncomfortably. Well, I finally said, closing my planner with a snap. Don't worry about the details. I'll handle everything. I always do. I stood up, grabbing my bag. Oh, and by the way, don't count on my $16,000 this year. Jessica's smile froze. What? I shrugged, heading for the door. I'm just curious which one of you can afford a Malibu beach house this summer. I turned back at the doorway, taking in their shocked expressions. Let me know what you figure out. As I walked to my car, my hands were shaking, but my mind was already racing with plans. They thought they could use me. They had no idea what was coming. Updated. Hey everyone. Wow, I did not expect this post to blow up like it did. Thank you all for the supportive comments. A lot of you have asked for more details about my friendship with these people and how things got to this point. So let me give you some background. I'll try to answer the questions some of you had in the comments too. Our friendship began in college. 5 wide-eyed freshmen who met during orientation week. Jessica, the natural leader with her confident laugh. Mike and his girlfriend Megan, always attached at the hip. Taylor, the laid-back artistic one. And Dan, the funny guy who never took anything seriously. Then there was me, the organized one who made sure everyone had the notes before exams and knew where to meet for lunch. I thought we had something special. We graduated together, celebrated each other's first jobs, helped each other move into crappy apartments, and then slightly less crappy apartments. We were family, or so I thought. Looking back, the signs were always there. I was always the one texting to make plans, the one remembering birthdays, the one checking in when someone was going through a hard time. 3 years ago, I landed a senior position at a tech company that came with a significant salary bump. That's when our annual trips went from budget beachfront motels to luxury vacation homes. I never minded paying more than my fair share. When we went out to dinner, I'd cover the bill because my card was already out. When we rented cars for road trips, I'd put it on my credit card and forget to ask for their shares. When we needed a vacation home, I'd say, let me handle it, guys. You can get the groceries. But the groceries would mysteriously cost less than expected, and somehow I'd end up buying more food during the trip anyway. Last year's trip was particularly telling. I spent $16,000 on a gorgeous beach house in Malibu, plus another $2,000 on activities and meals that were supposed to be shared expenses. When it came time to split costs, everyone had excuses. Jessica had unexpected medical bills. Mike and Megan were saving for a house. Dan had just invested in a startup that hadn't paid off yet. And Taylor was between jobs. I ended up covering nearly everything, but it wasn't just the money. When I turned 30 last year, they forgot. Completely. No calls, no texts, nothing. Then 2 weeks later, Jessica sent a belated birthday text like it was no big deal. Meanwhile, for Jessica's 30th, I organized a surprise weekend trip to Vegas, complete with VIP club passes and a suite at the Bellagio. Then there were the last-minute cancellations whenever I suggested plans, only to see Instagram stories of them hanging out without me. Oh, it was super last minute, they'd say if I mentioned it. We didn't think you'd be free. All these years, I've been telling myself that friendship isn't about keeping score, that maybe I was just being too sensitive, that maybe they didn't realize how their actions made me feel. But deep down, I knew. I knew I was buying my place in this group, paying for acceptance, financing my sense of belonging. And now, hearing them say it out loud, it just confirmed what I'd been trying to ignore for years. The morning after the planning meeting, I was staring mindlessly at my laptop when my phone buzzed. A group email had been sent to me, by mistake, obviously. Jessica had meant to send it to everyone except me. "So the beach house situation is tricky," she wrote. "I think we can still convince her to pay for it. She always caves when she feels left out. But we need to strategize how to minimize our time with her this year. Maybe we can suggest splitting up for adventures each day." Mike had already replied. "I say we let her pay, say thanks, and then do our own thing. She'll be too afraid of confrontation to call us out." My stomach twisted into knots as I scrolled through similar responses from everyone else. Dan suggested they could lose her on a hike. Taylor proposed they could all claim to be napping at different times. Megan wondered if they could convince me to get a separate hotel room because of my allergies. As if on cue, my phone rang. Jessica's name flashed on the screen. "Hey." Her voice was sugary sweet. "So, about yesterday. What about it?" I kept my voice neutral. "I think you misunderstood what was happening before you arrived," she said, the lie flowing effortlessly. "We were actually talking about Taylor's new girlfriend. She's super controlling, and we don't think she's a good fit for the trip." I glanced at my laptop screen where her email was still open. "Really? Of course. We would never talk about you like that. You're the heart of our group." As she spoke, I mindlessly scrolled through my phone and opened Snapchat. I hadn't checked it in weeks since I wasn't a regular user. That's when I saw it. A group called Summer Fam, Real, that I wasn't part of. I could see preview thumbnails of group photos, my friends at a rooftop bar last weekend, at Taylor's birthday dinner, which I was told was just family, at a concert they all claimed to be too busy to attend. My hands started trembling. My throat tightened. But somehow I kept my voice steady. "Jessica, I need to think about some things. I'll call you back, okay?" But I hung up before she could finish. Then I sat in my silent apartment, and for the first time since overhearing their conversation, I let myself feel the full weight of the betrayal. Updated. I see a lot of you asking why I didn't just confront them right then and there, or why I didn't immediately drop these friends years ago. It's complicated, isn't it? Sometimes we convince ourselves that imperfect friends are better than no friends at all. But after seeing those Snapchat photos, something in me finally changed. I couldn't deny what was happening anymore, and I couldn't continue pretending everything was fine. That's when I knew I had to do something about it. I stared at those Snapchat photos for what felt like hours. The 5 of them, arms around each other, laughing at a concert I specifically asked to attend. Jessica had told me it was sold out. Dan had claimed to be sick that night. Taylor said he had to work late. It was like a veil lifted from my eyes. All those years of rationalization, making excuses for them, blaming myself for being too sensitive, crumbled in an instant. The truth was painfully simple. I was never their friend. I was their ATM, their event planner, their convenient resource to be used when needed and discarded when not. My phone buzzed again with texts from Jessica, then Mike, all suddenly concerned about my feelings, all terrified that their gravy train was about to end. I set the phone down without responding and walked to my window, looking out at the city below. I could confront them, scream at them, demand an explanation. But what would that accomplish? They'd deny, deflect, manipulate, and nothing would change. Or I could simply walk away, cut them out completely. But that felt too easy, too anticlimactic after 10 years of friendship. They deserved a lesson they'd never forget. They wanted to use me one last time? Well, I would give them exactly what they wanted, with a twist. I opened my laptop, but instead of searching for luxury beach houses in Malibu, I typed remote cabin rentals, Montana wilderness. I scrolled through options until I found the perfect place. A rustic, read primitive cabin miles from civilization, with spotty cell service, minimal amenities, and a warning about local wildlife. No pool, no beach, no Wi-Fi, no luxury chef's kitchen. Just nature, isolation, and each other. A smile spread across my face as I hit book now. They thought they knew me. Organized, predictable, always eager to please. But this summer, they were going to meet a whole new me. "Are you sure this is the right way?" Jessica asked for the 5th time, peering anxiously at the increasingly rugged road ahead. We were 3 hours into what I had promised would be a surprise destination for our annual trip, driving deeper into the Montana wilderness in a rented minivan, not the luxury convertibles they'd been expecting. Absolutely, I replied cheerfully. The GPS says we're right on track. But Megan's voice was strained. I thought we were going to Malibu. I packed beach clothes. I kept my eyes on the road. I told everyone this year would be special, a complete change of scenery for our 10th friendship anniversary. Mike, who had been unusually quiet, finally spoke up. When you said special, we assumed you meant, an upgrade. Like a private beach or something. This is definitely private, I assured him as I turned onto an unpaved road. The minivan bounced and lurched, sending everyone grabbing for handholds. My phone has no service, Dan announced, holding his iPhone up to the window like it might catch a signal. Guys, I have an important work call tomorrow. The cabin has a landline for emergencies, I said, which wasn't entirely a lie. There was a landline. It just didn't work. I'd confirmed that with the property manager, who had warned me that the place was very rustic and perfect for those looking to truly disconnect. As we rounded the final bend, the cabin came into view. Even I was a bit shocked at how accurately the photos had captured its dilapidated charm. A sagging porch, windows with mismatched curtains, and a general air of having been abandoned sometime during the Bush administration. The first one. What? The actual hell. Jessica's voice was barely a whisper. I parked and turned to face my friends with the brightest smile I could muster. We're here, our home for the next 7 days. The silence in the van was deafening. Taylor was the first to recover. This is a joke, right? This is like the caretaker's cottage and the real place is just up the hill? Nope. I opened my door. This is it. Authentic wilderness experience. Off the grid, just the 6 of us. I grabbed my backpack, the only luggage I'd brought for reasons that would soon become clear. Let's check it out. I bounded up to the cabin, unlocked the door with the key I'd received via overnight mail, and swung it open. The interior matched the exterior in rustic charm, mismatched furniture that had seen better decades, a kitchenette with an ancient refrigerator, and the distinct smell of mothballs and pine cleaner. There's no TV, Dan observed, walking in slowly like he expected the floor to collapse. Nope, I confirmed. No Wi-Fi either. No Netflix, no Uber Eats, no DoorDash. Just nature and each other. This can't be happening, Jessica muttered, still standing in the doorway. We need to find another place. Good luck with that, I said, dropping onto a threadbare couch. The nearest town is about an hour's drive, and I checked. There's no vacancy anywhere within a 3-hour radius. It's peak fishing season. Mike finally exploded. What the hell were you thinking? This place is a dump. This isn't what we agreed to. I pulled out my phone. That's funny. Let me play you something. I hit play on a recording I'd secretly made at the planning meeting. Their voices filled the cabin. She's not needed this summer. God, she always ruins the vibe with her organization and planning. It's exhausting. Yeah, but we still need her beach house. We'll figure something out. She'll still pay for it. She always does. Their faces went pale. Before they could recover, I pulled up the email thread Jessica had accidentally sent me and read parts of it aloud. I think we can still convince her to pay for it. She always caves when she feels left out. But we need to strategize how to minimize our time with her this year. I looked up at Jessica. Sound familiar? We didn't, Jessica stammered. Oh, and my personal favorite, I continued, scrolling down. I say we let her pay, say thanks, and then do our own thing. She'll be too afraid of confrontation to call us out. That was you, Mike, right? The silence was absolute. I stood up, brushing off my jeans. You wanted a trip without me? Congratulations, you've got it. What are you talking about? Taylor asked, a note of panic creeping into his voice. I picked up my backpack. I've paid for this lovely cabin for a full week. There's enough basic food to last you if you ration it. The SUV outside has a full tank of gas, which should be enough to get you back to civilization if you don't waste it driving around looking for cell service. You can't be serious, Megan said, her voice small. Oh, I am. I pulled out my phone and showed them the confirmation for a luxurious room at a spa resort about 30 miles away. I'll be spending the week here, getting massages and enjoying room service. You all can enjoy the authentic wilderness experience you've been so eager to have without my exhausting organization ruining the vibe. You're just going to leave us here? Dan looked panicked now. Isn't that what you all wanted? Me out of the way so you could enjoy my money without my presence? I walked to the door. Well, this time you get my absence without my money. Seems fair. Jessica lunged forward. You can't do this. There's bears out here. There's a bear horn by the door, I said calmly. And the property manager said they usually don't come too close to the cabin. Usually. How are we supposed to get food? Mike demanded. I told you there's some basics in the kitchen, and I'm sure a resourceful group like you can figure out the rest. After all, you were planning to lose me on a hike, so you must be pretty confident in your outdoor skills. Their faces showed the dawning realization that I knew everything, that I had planned this, that the tables had completely turned. My taxi should be here any minute, I said, checking my watch. Oh, and don't bother trying to follow me. I've paid the driver handsomely to take some scenic routes. As if on cue, a honk sounded from outside. I stepped onto the porch and watched their faces through the screen door, a mixture of anger, betrayal, and dawning panic. Enjoy your summer trip, guys. I know I will. I walked to the waiting taxi without looking back. As we pulled away, I could hear Jessica shouting my name, but it grew fainter as we wound down the dirt road. For the first time in 10 years, I wasn't rushing to solve someone else's problem. I wasn't opening my wallet to buy approval. I was simply walking away, and it felt like freedom. The driver glanced at me in the rearview mirror. Everything okay back there, miss? I smiled, watching the cabin disappear around a bend. Everything is perfect. It's been exactly 1 year since I left my friends at that cabin in Montana, and I can honestly say it was the best $4,000 I ever spent. Yes, $4,000. Not the $16,000 I usually blew on our annual trips. Turns out rustic cabins in the middle of nowhere are significantly cheaper than beachfront properties in Malibu. Who knew? My week at the spa resort was transformative. I spent the first day anxiously checking my phone, half expecting the sheriff to call about 5 city slickers lost in the woods. By day 3, I had stopped checking altogether. I had my first hot stone massage, tried yoga on a mountain summit at sunrise, and had dinner by myself at a fancy restaurant without feeling the need to entertain anyone or pick up the tab. For those wondering what happened to the Fab Five, they survived. Barely. According to the property manager, who I befriended during my stay, they managed 3 miserable days at the cabin before giving up. Apparently, the final straw was when Taylor found a mouse in his duffel bag. They pooled their resources for gas money and drove back to civilization, only to discover that the nearest decent hotel was fully booked due to a fishing tournament. They ended up sleeping in the minivan in a Walmart parking lot before making the long drive back home. The aftermath was exactly what you might expect. Jessica tried calling me daily for weeks. Her voicemails evolved from angry, "I can't believe you would do this to us," to manipulative, "We're all really worried about you," to desperate, "Please, we need to talk." Mike sent a long email about how I had misunderstood everything and how they all valued my friendship, not my money. Sure, January I never responded to any of them. I didn't need to. The message had been delivered, received, and apparently it hit hard. Through mutual acquaintances, I heard their little group imploded spectacularly after Montana. Without an external target, me, to unite them, they turned on each other. Jessica blamed Mike for the recorded conversation. Mike blamed Jessica for the damning email. Dan blamed everyone for the trauma of being abandoned in the woods. And Taylor, sweet, conflict-avoidant Taylor, apparently told them all to grow up before blocking them on every platform. As for me, I used the $12,000 I saved from not renting a Malibu beach house to do something I'd always wanted to do. I took a photography course in Iceland. Solo. It was terrifying and exhilarating and absolutely perfect. I met people who wanted to know me, the real me, not what I could provide for them. I took pictures of waterfalls and lava fields in my own smiling face, without having to worry about anyone rolling their eyes at my tourist behavior. When I came back, I joined a hiking group where nobody knew my salary or expected me to plan everything. I made new friends who insist on splitting the bill, who show up when they say they will, who remember my birthday without being reminded. Real friends. Sometimes I think about Jessica, Mike, Megan, Taylor, and Dan, not with anger anymore, but with something like gratitude. They taught me an expensive lesson, but one worth learning. Real friendship isn't transactional. It can't be bought, sold, or bartered for. And sometimes the most valuable thing you can do is walk away from people who only see your value in terms of what you can give them. I still love planning trips. It's just part of who I am. But now I plan them with people who appreciate the effort, not just the outcome. People who want me there, not just my credit card. So yes, I lost $4,000 and 5 long-term friends last summer. But I gained something far more valuable. Self-respect, boundaries, and the knowledge that I deserve better than to be someone's ATM with legs. Looking back, my only regret is that I didn't set up hidden cameras in that cabin. The footage would have been absolutely priceless. Was leaving them stranded in the woods petty? Maybe. Effective? Absolutely. Would you have done the same thing in my position, or would you have handled it differently?